Hello everyone. We are the Urban Land Use Inference Group, consisting of myself, Ahmed Baltaji, Ramon Garcia, Rami Ayoub, and Hani Karimi. The goal of our project is to investigate whether we can predict the type of land use a city block hosts, whether residential or commercial, by analyzing its built form, urban morphology, and proximity to surrounding urban features. Our presentation is structured around six main points: the problem statement, initial explorations, land use classification, the refined approach, model training, and finally model predictions. Our research question is: can we predict the land use of a space based on existing environmental information from official and unofficial sources? To answer this question, we extract several categories of features. These include morphological characteristics such as street width, plot sizes, and building heights, accessibility indicators like travel times to subway stations and bus stops, proximity to anchor amenities, and socioeconomic indicators such as population density and land use ratios. These features are then used to produce two outputs. The first is categorical classification that labels an area as either residential or commercial. The second is a prescriptive mode, which estimates the most probable use of an unmapped plot based on its surrounding spatial DNA. For training, we selected New York City because its five boroughs provide a wide range of urban patterns, from Manhattan's dense commercial core to Staten Island's lower density suburban communities, allowing the model to learn from diverse environments. As for the pipeline, we first divide the city into grids. Using Python scripts, we extract data from OpenStreetMap and Pluto, transform it into meaningful features, and then perform exploratory analysis before training both shallow and deep learning models. The final output is a prediction of whether a grid cell is residential or commercial. With that, I will now hand over to Hani.
So we're gonna start with our initial exploration, where we were searching for what's the sweet spot for a machine learning to start predict accurately at an urban level. So our identifiers were longitude and latitude, our Y targets were shop level and block level, and our X features were morphological, synergistic proximity, and socioeconomic, where we had like street width, plot area, distance to bus stop, hospital, school, and park, and residential and commercial ratio, and median income. As we see here on the left, classes overlap heavily, where we had three labels: food and drink, retail, and services, that share the same feature space, and where we see that food and drink dominate the cloud in green. And on the right, we had wheat coloration everywhere, where almost every pair lands in LRL smaller than 0.3, so no single variable strongly predicts amenity type. So our key findings: while our approach explains significant variance, the analysis reveals an important limitation, where shop levels and urban blocks in our study are morphologically and socioeconomically homogeneous. So the features we selected do not meaningfully differentiate between location types, indicating a need for an additional or an alternative indicators that better capture location-specific characteristics. So we decided to shift our strategy from predicting shop types to classifying land use across a spatial grid with expanded features.
For our land use classification, the data distribution was divided into a grid. We tested several grids, and we finally decided to take two grids of 150 by 150 and a 200 by 200, and we did a comparison between them. Then the features that we used for our land use, we stick with the old one, and we also added some new feature like a social features, the hotel count, the tourism count, tourism density also. So we added some new feature to test if there is any relation between them and can lead to a better prediction for land use. And the land use is a binary prediction. So we are now predicting only residential grid and commercial part. And also we extended our analysis to neighborhood cities such as Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, and Staten Island. The raw data set that we have is composed of 23,776 rows and 17 columns. And the prediction is on the zone type, which had a residential part, a mixed use, commercial, and others. So we eliminated the other, and the mixed use was remixed to residential and commercial. And we later on will explain how we did that. So we ended up with a 18,240 residential part and 5,528 data point for commercial. Then we start to see our data distribution. So we sample it, and we did some plotting for the data, where we started to see some pattern that emerged, like for the amenity density, the land use entropy, the average floors. And also we did the pair plot and the heat map, and we can clearly see some pattern. They are not like strong, but we can rely on them. So we can dive deep into our feature. We can remove the part that add noise and the part of the feature that are sending the same signals.
Here we present the refined approach developed from everything covered in the previous chapters. Our final dataset uses 8 features plus 1 target variable, zone type. Data comes exclusively from OpenStreetMap and Pluto, covering densities, radius, mobility, building count, and land use entropy, all within a 150-meter grid. These are the 5 analyzed cities and their feature distributions: commercial on the left, mixed use on the center, and residential on the right. Manhattan behaves distinctively from the others, which is exactly why balancing all 5 cities was essential. Mixed use is introduced significant noise into the dataset. Removing it revealed a much cleaner separation between commercial and residential, confirmed by the heat map showing no relevant bias between categories. The PCA analysis validates that our features effectively separate the data into clusters, pulling commercial and residential apart. The model has a solid foundation, and next we will present the training. We now move into the training phase, using the dataset built in the previous chapter. Our first attempt trained on all 3 categories. Commercial and mixed use showed low precision, while residential already reached 90%. Comparing predictions versus ground truth, we got 14.5 error margin. Not ideal, so we explored it further. We tested 3 explorations. 1, removing residential data. 2, fully balancing all the datasets. And 3rd, dropping mixed use entirely. And none of them worked as expected. But the 4th method was the breakthrough: redistributing mixed use using a Pluto feature that indicates how much each parcel leans commercial or residential. In the XGBoost analysis, it reached at 89%, logistic regression 88%, with 71% on commercial and 94% on residential. Applying this redistribution to the full dataset, precision improved significantly across both categories, even with imbalanced data. The map comparison now shows only 6.3 error margin against the Pluto ground truth, a major improvement. Land use entropy and lot coverage are the dominant features across all the cities. Manhattan stands out for its unique land use diversity, making it a critical inclusion in the training dataset. And by combining all 5 cities, produced a richer, more balanced dataset. Consistent yet divergent patterns emerged, strengthening the land use classification foundation. We then introduced artificial neuronal networks, which perform better with larger and more diverse datasets, aiming for even higher accuracy. With 7,100 epochs and mixed-use redistribution applied, the loss curve showed very close training and validation margins, indicating a stable and well-fitted model. The ANN reached 80% on commercial and 93% on residential, outperforming shallow learning models in per-class precision. However, on the map, the ANN shows a 10% error compared to 6% from shallow learning, Higher models accuracy does not always translate a better spatial prediction.
Before we dive deep into the prediction on other cities, we wanted to test the feature that highly influenced the result. So we started with the shape value plot, where we can see the right side pushes towards more residential while the left side pushes towards more commercial. And the highest feature that are influencing the result are the cell lot counts, which influence more residential data point, where the land use entropy influence the more commercial side. Mainly the rest of the features are pointing towards a more commercial data point, while only the intersection density is giving more data to the residential part. Also, we see, as you can see in these two graphs, the cell lot count or the land use entropy. So the model classify a cell as residential when it contains many small parcels with homogeneous land use, and the two features interact, while the high parse count can compress for a moderate land use mixing, and it's vice versa. So if we chose the commercial part, it would be the opposite of it. To test the model scalability, we chose 3 different cities, Detroit, Chicago, and San Francisco, to run the test on. For Chicago, the model produced a 1/3 commercial to residential distribution with a 17.5 error margin concentrated along mixed-use transition zones, while in Detroit, the model achieved a higher accuracy with a 6% error margin. The residential classification proved straightforward, while commercial and mixed use along major arterials added moderate complexity. For San Francisco, the reduced data set by the size of it contributed to a 20% error margin, compounded by non-commercial use being misclassified as commercial across certain zones. Despite its scale, the city offered a valuable contrast case within the cross-city comparative framework.
Finally, in this slide, we can see different datasets compared in different years of the New York City area. So we can see 2012, 2018, 2026, in which basically we can see the lack of information or data that is coming from the previous years until the last year, which is 2026. So it is more precise and more efficient in the last years rather than having the previous years. And finally, you can visit our website, which you can see the comparison between the predictions, also between 2012 until 2026. And you can see also the predictions from different cities of the US.
So in conclusion, looking at a micro-scale level integrate a lot of noise, but when zooming out and clustering the datasets, spatial and urban patterns start to emerge. And the model can infer land use where it isn't known, filling gaps in unmapped or outdated area, and anticipating how a cell function will shift as its urban form changes. And we can see that retail's analysis and real estate analysis can use the model, also the municipalities, the urban planner, and researchers. Thank you.